Hello, welcome to this presentation on AI as a language tool for second language acquisition. I will say SLA from here on out. My name is Marc Sakellarios. First, let me define some terms. So, Cao defines a morpheme as the smallest unit with meaning and sound. Run, for example, has 3 letters, R-U-N. Removing one letter would remove the meaning entirely. Run with an S is composed of 2 morphemes. The S has a grammatical function, while the base word run has a lexical function. Lemmas are base words or dictionary forms. So good, better, best would be one lemma from the word good. Word families are bigger than lemmas. The meaning can change, such as act, inactive, action, etc. So morphological awareness is a good way to build up vocabulary in a second language learner. So instead of just teaching action, the student could learn inaction, action, active, using one simple base word and then expanding into a larger word family. So vocabulary is a major hurdle for SLA. According to Breitbart, a native speaker knows 42,000 lemmas derived from 11,000 word families by the time they are 20 years old. As such, vocabulary poses a major obstacle in SLA. For me, I have lived in Japan for 20 years, so I can speak Japanese with some degree of fluency, but sometimes struggle when reading or writing complex compound kanji. Kanji are the Japanese characters derived from Chinese that you see in the bottom corner of this slide. So let me teach you a few compound Japanese kanji words today. According to Hagiwara, Japanese has transparent and opaque compounds. So, for example, number 1, you can see kazan, or volcano, is derived from 2 morphemes, ka, which is fire, and sam, which is mountain. So it's easy to guess how these 2 morphemes come together to create fire mountain or volcano. This is a transparent compound. But there are also opaque compounds, where the meaning cannot be guessed as easily, as with the example in number 2, eikyo, or influence, which is derived from the parts sound and echo. So it's much more difficult to understand how sound and echo come together to form influence. Finally, in number 3, you have grammatical morphemes in Japanese. For example, number 3, teki. This has an adjectival function. So if we apply it to number 2, which was influence, we can turn influence into an adjective, or influential in English. And the Japanese would be eikyoteki. So I set out to teach myself compound kanji and also help my university students studying English. English is also a morpheme-structured language. I instructed AI to devise a pretest to baseline my understanding of Japanese morphology. Then I instructed AI to teach me 20 target compound lexical items, as well as 10 grammatical morphemes. Then I spent 30 minutes studying, which was followed by a parallel post-intervention test to measure whether I could use morphemes to infer meaning to new vocabulary. New vocabulary acquisition is an important aspect. I was not just testing whether 30 minutes could improve rote knowledge. This was not a measure of my studying ability, but whether new compound kanji vocabulary could be constructed and understood based on knowledge of the morphemes. So, if it were in English, could inactive, the word inactive, be understood or produced if the parts in, act, and iv were taught. So in other words, could it be transferred to new situations if the building blocks of language were understood? So even if a student had never seen the word inactive, their knowledge of the parts would help them understand the meaning. So I instructed AI to produce pre- and post-tests containing 20 items, 5 for each skill. First skill was inference, or understanding new words from known morphemes. Or second was production, essentially the ability to produce new valid words. The third was decomposition, or the ability to break down words into morphemes. And finally, transfer, applying morphemes to completely unfamiliar words. I asked AI to teach me 20 lexical and 10 grammatical morphemes. So in the prior example, the lexical would be eikyo, which is influence, and then teki is the grammatical, coming together to form eikyoteki. The post-intervention test measured whether these blocks of language could be applied to new words. Again, not just testing whether studying is useful. As you can see, there was improvement in all categories, especially decomposition and transfer, which were skills I possibly lacked prior to intervention. Of course, this research has many limitations. It is a self-directed, autoethnographic case study with one subject, myself. I am not suggesting that AI-assisted research can or should replace traditional research methodology. I am more interested in highlighting how AI can be used as a research partner, a study partner, or a language learning assistant. A colleague and I wrote a paper in 2026 where we found students were unable to understand how to use AI ethically in an SLA context. So some understood that asking AI to write an entire paper or an entire presentation was unethical, but many struggled to understand the nuance of AI use, ethical AI use. My goal in this research was to devise a method that anyone can use. Students could use this method to self-evaluate their skills and improve through AI-assisted instruction. Vocabulary is a giant obstacle in SLA, but understanding language morphology, how the blocks within a word come together to produce new words, is essential. This can help students push their vocabulary to new heights. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I will conclude with a little bit of Japanese. It seems fitting, as this is a presentation about Japanese. I will have my references slide up while I take questions. では、最後に皆さん、本当にありがとうございました。長い話になってしまい、申し訳ありませんでした。ご質問があれば、よろしくお願いします。Please feel free to ask me any questions. I hope I can answer them.